Despite having very few first-party exclusives in 2022, Xbox still had a pretty strong year thanks to some excellent additions to Xbox Game Pass, which grew its catalog with dozens of fantastic games. Here are the 5 best Xbox games of 2022 as selected by GameSpot, as well as 5 honorable mentions that you need to check out ASAP. 2022 was truly the year of Vampire Survivors, the smash hit bullet hell survival game that took Steam and Xbox by storm. While it might not look like a shiny AAA release, when it comes to satisfying gameplay loops that'll keep you hooked for hours, it is unmatched. But what do you do in Vampire Survivors? You survive for 30 minutes, that's the goal. The moment-to-moment gameplay is relatively simple. All you have to do is move your character, who will then automatically attack enemies that will begin to swarm you. Enemies drop gems, which you then pick up to gain experience and level up, unlocking new weapons and buffs. It is so simple to play, and the more you do, the more the game gets its hooks in you. From fusing weapons to get more powerful, evolved versions, to unlocking every stage and character, to even defeating the Grim Reaper himself, there is so much to do, and its bite-sized 30-minute stages are perfect to dip into. Pentiment is an adventure game set in the 16th century. You play as Andreas Mahler, an artist working for an abbey in Bavaria, who is also aiming to finish his masterpiece on the side. A murder at the abbey is the spark that lights the powder keg that is the relationship between the abbey, the townsfolk, and the peasants. And somehow, it's up to Andreas to investigate the conspiracy at the heart of it all. Andreas is a stranger in a strange land, just as we the players are to a rapidly changing 16th century Bavarian society. Pentiment follows the role each person, as well as the church, plays, and to prevent it from being overwhelming, offers an in-depth glossary and character guide to help out in a pinch. Much has been made about Pentiment's art style, which is a love letter to the art of the time, but it's the game's characters that really shine, especially as we see them grow and change over time. If you long to dig into an intriguing mystery and maybe learn some things too, then Pentiment is the game for you. 3 movies, 1 incredible story. When an actress goes missing, it's up to you to scrub through her 3 unreleased movies and behind-the-scenes footage to find clues and try and discover the truth of what happened to her. Things might seem straightforward at first glance, but the deeper you dig, the more secrets you'll uncover. Immortality utilizes FMV to tell its story and features some of the best performances you'll see all year, particularly from Manon Gage, who plays the lead role of Marissa Marcel. In his 8 out of 10 review, Mark Delaney wrote, "Despite, and sometimes because of, the dizzying effect of falling down the rabbit hole, Immortality becomes another standout narrative. It's similar to its predecessors, telling Lies and Her story in some key ways, but more thought-provoking too, and certainly more unnerving than you'll be prepared for." Grounded is a survival crafting game with a twist. You're a kid who's been shrunken down to the size of an ant, and it's up to you and some pals to survive in the backyard. Gather resources, build a base, and fend off the creepy crawlies that are out to get you, but everything is coated with a childlike sense of adventure, making it feel more like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or The Borrowers. Grounded has been in the Xbox Early Access program for a couple of years, but hit 1.0 in 2022. In his 8 out of 10 review, Mark Delaney said, "The fantastical setup makes for an immediately intriguing setup, and to further stylize it as a uniquely childlike adventure, polish it beyond most of its peers, and set it in a world full of familiar sights to see in startling new ways, makes Grounded no small feat." As Dusk Falls is an interactive narrative game that follows the fallout of a robbery gone wrong and how the event impacts the lives of 2 families in small-town Arizona. Your decisions have consequences, and the outcomes for the characters vary wildly depending on the choices that you make. If that sounds like too much pressure, get some friends involved to help out, as you can play the game with up to 8 friends both online and locally. In his 9 out of 10 review, Mark Delaney wrote, "By way of incredible voice acting, a compelling and expertly written script, and a bounty of pause-worthy choices along the game's elaborate branching paths, it establishes itself as an instant classic in the narrative adventure genre." Those were GameSpot's 5 best Xbox games of 2022, but since you've been good this year, here are 5 more. If you're a fan of Pikmin, you'll feel right at home with Tinykin. As Milo, an astronaut who has crash-landed in a house, it's up to you to gather little critters called Tinykin to help you get home. A Tinykin by itself can't do much, but when you gather a small group together, you can order them to lift heavy items, break items that are in your way, and even make currents to power on electronics. Tinykin is a delightful puzzle platformer where ordinary items have multiple uses, and there's a secret tucked behind every corner. Each of Tinykin's levels is set in a different room of a 90s era family home, and with your Tinykin, you're tasked with various objectives from the bugs who call the house home. Getting around the large spaces is a breeze. Not only can you glide using your bubble pack, but you can also speed around on a bar of soap, which is just as fun and satisfying as it sounds. In her 8 out of 10 review, Jess Howard said, "Tinykin is a delightful callback to 90s collectathons and platformers with just the right amount of new ideas and iterations." Okay, I know Elden Ring is not an Xbox exclusive by any means because it also came out on PC and PlayStation, but it did win our Game of the Year award, and it's a game you should be playing regardless of which platform you own. Sorry, Switch owners, because Elden Ring is From Software's magnum opus and will go down in history as one of the best open world, if not one of the best games of all time. As a lowly Tarnished, you awaken in the lands between, an enormous world full of mystery, discovery, and danger, and must fight your way to become the Elden Lord. In typical FromSoft fare, the journey is punishing, but Elden Ring takes a lot of strides in becoming the most approachable FromSoft game yet. If an encounter is too difficult for you, there is a whole world to explore full of hundreds of weapons and spells to create a build that works for you. In his 10 out of 10 review, Tamal Hussein wrote, From Software's latest is a masterpiece of open-world design that places exploration and player agency at the heart of the experience. That delicate orchestration of highs and lows and the build-up and release of tension that From Software has mastered, coupled with the thrill of freeform exploration and discovery, is an intoxicating cocktail of game design. Beacon Pines is a game with an incredibly intriguing premise. The game is set within a book, and you play the role of both the book's main character and its reader. Along the adventure, you collect golden charms, which can then be used to replace specific words in the story, which then changes how things play out. Beacon Pines is a unique take on the choice-driven narrative genre, and manages to balance being cute and creepy all at the same time. So what more could you want? In Nobody Saves the World, you're a nobody, and that's okay. When an ancient threat called the Calamity awakens, it's up to you to stop it by transforming into a creature that's up to the task. Whether that's a ghost, horse, dragon, or even a slug, yes, you heard that right, you can swap forms to use abilities suitable for the situation you're in. As you complete quests, you level up each form and unlock new ones, providing a compelling gameplay loop where the next unlock is always around the corner. Mix that with the procedurally generated dungeons, and Nobody Saves the World is a dungeon crawler that offers so much variety that it's tough to put it down. In his 9 out of 10 review, Steve Watts was enamored with the game, saying, "After finishing Nobody Saves the World, I went right back to it. There were still dungeons to explore, powers to unlock, secrets to uncover, and a new game plus mode to conquer. When a game is this much frictionless fun, it's hard to resist." A Plague Tale Requiem is the sequel to 2019's A Plague Tale Innocence, and once again follows Amicia and her little brother Hugo as they desperately search for a cure for Hugo's disease. The game is set in France, where a deadly plague is being carried by rats, and it's not just the bite that you need to avoid. Soldiers of the Inquisition are constantly on your tail, hoping to use Hugo's condition for their own gains. A Plague Tale Requiem is a finely crafted puzzle action-adventure game with a deeply affecting story about siblings at its heart. It's not truly an Xbox exclusive, but it did launch as a Day 1 Game Pass title earlier this year. Those were our picks for the best Xbox games of 2022. If you want to know the best PlayStation, Switch, and PC games of the year, make sure to subscribe to GameSpot on YouTube or check out GameSpot.com. We also have an in-depth video on our Game of the Year Elden Ring and just why it got that coveted title. You can find me on Twitter at LucyJamesGames, and I'll see you next time.